Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with your Week 10 Thursday night football sit-start show. A divisional battle, the Raiders at the Broncos. I can't even try to pretend to get hyped for the game, except for the fantasy products involved could be very interesting, and there's a lot of sit-start dilemmas related to them. We've got Courtland Sutton on a bit of a cold streak. He's scored and he's getting there okay, but the targets haven't necessarily been there. Troy Franklin on the other side of things, out-targeting him. Is he a must-play? RJ Harvey, touchdown in 3 straight. Is he a must-play in Week 10? What about J.K. Dobbins, his counterpart? We've got so much to sift through from the fantasy radar. So if you don't care about this game because it's probably going to be a blowout, no worries, because there's plenty of fantasy juice for you as well. Never mind the Raiders side of things. Are Bowers and Jeanty still must-starts against this ferocious Broncos defense? Is there anybody else of value? We're going to dive into all of that, Wolfpack, but of course, the vast majority of tonight is dedicated to your sit-starts. So I'm going to whip through a couple of those takes real quick to help feed this sit-start mailbag. We already have about 20, 30 questions in there. Thank you so much for those of you filling up that mailbag right from the jump. We greatly appreciate it. My man, The Truth has his son's swim meet tonight, so he cannot join, unfortunately, but should be back for the stream next week right here at 4:30, like we're trying to do every Thursday moving forward. But let's dive in real quick as that mailbag is building into my game preview. What do I expect to happen? The Raiders at Denver, 8.5 points going to the Raiders, and I don't even think that's close to enough. You could give them 13.5, and I probably would still take the Broncos in their last couple meetings. The over-under also 42.5. So I'll start with, I think the over is a smash. I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos themselves put up 35, up into that huge 5 to 6 touchdown range game for the Broncos. We've seen that with Sean Payton in the past is they can get up big, and he likes to just keep hitting that gas pedal and just absolutely thrash teams. The last 2 times these two teams met, 34-18, the Broncos beat the Raiders, and then 29-19. So both of those comfortably hitting the over. This is a more explosive Raiders attack as well. So I ultimately think this game does hit the over. I also think, though, the Broncos cover just as they did 8.5 points in these last 2 games. Sure, the Raiders, they had that feisty little game against the Jags, went for 2, almost took the game down, but sadly, Geno, it's just not that good anymore, and that did not pan out for them. I do not think that carries over and propels them motivation, and they're going to keep this game close. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but I think the Broncos smash them by at least 2 touchdowns tonight. So I might tease that thing up to 14 or so points, see how those odds get. And again, I like this game to still hit the over, some garbage time touchdowns perhaps for the Raiders coming in late. And on that note, I do like both Geno plus 1,500 and Jack Besh at plus 1,000 in that little jackpot touchdown thing that's going on FanDuel. I like to play it, risky and try to get that huge win. So those are a couple of the late time garbage scores. I think those 2 could be great. I do love RJ Harvey. I saw that Cody Brown Betts, who 500,000 followers, also liked RJ Harvey. So that was the guy I was going to go with. I pivoted off it because last time I went Jake Tonjes and thought I was a genius. Saw that guy had also tweeted out, and I only got 60 in bonus bets. I want thousands, folks. And so I get greedy. I go for the big shots there. So that is, again, I think Broncos smash Raiders. I think the over also hits in the process as well. So let's dive into some of these fantasy products. We got about 240 of you right off the first couple minutes. You love to see it. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please do hit that thumbs up button. It would be so greatly appreciated, Wolfpack, and thanks again for being here. So let's start with Courtland Sutton and Troy Franklin. I tweeted this out today. I was actually pretty surprised to find, as I was doing my research for this show for tonight's game, Troy Franklin has out-targeted Courtland Sutton in 3 straight games, which absolutely blows my mind. He has gone 10, 8, and 9. Nice steady target floor there compared to 9, 6, and 6 for Sutton. So it's not like Sutton's disappeared and we haven't heard from him, but ultimately Franklin over his last 3, 16 fantasy points per game, the wide receiver 9. Sutton in that span, the 12.5 fantasy points per game, wide receiver 22. Both guys in that same vein, likely a solid play tonight. The Raiders are giving up the 4th most points to wide receivers on the season. And when you look at it, it's no real eruption, but a steady two or so wide receivers scoring 10 to 15 points per week. So I think both these guys can certainly get there. Not opposed to betting either of them. Plus 145 for Sutton, plus 170 for Franklin to score touchdowns. I do think Sutton's the better bet. That's why his odds are certainly better. Maybe that's also because I'm facing Franklin tonight in my most important league, hoping he does not hit pay dirt. Granted, too, I should preface that, again, that 16 fantasy points per game these last 3 weeks, they are buoyed by a huge eruption against who everybody smashes, the Dallas Cowboys. But still, he's been Franklin steady, 10, 9-ish points over these last 3 games with that, again, 26-point eruption against the Cowboys as well. I just worry, again, he could just completely erupt against me. So if anybody's considering playing Franklin, just know I'm facing him, which means it's a very good chance that he goes absolutely bananas. I think both these guys can be in lineups. I do, of course, prefer Sutton. He's got the track record, great touchdown scorer throughout his career, but you got to also follow that volume, and Franklin makes a very nice play right around +2 or so ECR on him. Let me know if you have any sit-start questions on those guys. And you can find my Week 10 rankings as we go through this show at rotostreetjournal.com. I like to make sure to update those throughout the week to keep you guys in the know in the process here as I do my show. So feel free to check out rotostreetjournal.com. Everything on there is free for you as we go. And I do like to update these rankings as we go as well, just to reflect. I want to make sure the questions I answer reflect that. And oftentimes I'll answer a question with my gut, check my rankings, and realize, oh, you know what? I had Franklin a lot higher than that guy, and somehow Franklin's below him. So that's why I also love doing this show, is you guys help me sift through my rankings and figure out what do I really believe, what do I love here tonight. A big question, one I'm getting hammered with here on Twitter, is what to do with RJ Harvey. And I tweeted out, maybe that's prompted some of this. I consider him a borderline must start. I know the volume, the snap share, none of it has been, yeah, you got to play this guy. Ultimately hasn't topped, 30% of the snaps on this only once this season. But when he topped that 30% of snaps at 41%, it was against the Cincinnati Bengals when they were absolutely destroying them. And I think there's a couple ways Harvey can get there tonight, whether it's they're absolutely dominating the Broncos, are just crushing the Raiders, and now there's some garbage time. I think that is very much a play for Harvey. The other fact is that he had 44%, a career-high route share last week, uses the main passing back. I mean, he has 3 straight games with a receiving touchdown right now, does RJ Harvey. He's slowly morphing into that Alvin Kamara Joker-style role that, yeah, it wasn't there to begin the year. We're seeing it happen right before our eyes. 5 for 51 and a touchdown last week. That absolutely was the best receiving, topped the team on receptions there and receiving yards last week. So RJ Harvey really starting to pick it up. I love plus 240 on FanDuel for him to score. If you want to sprinkle him a first touchdown, I think it's plus 1,100. I think multiple touchdowns is right around plus 2,000. I love all those bets for RJ Harvey. Now, that doesn't mean I think that Dobbins is a sit. No, I think he absolutely is in play here. This is a Raiders team that I'm just lifeless, in my opinion. I think this Broncos team, like I said, paced about 30 to maybe even 40 points themselves on this squad. And Dobbins still is the lead back. It's just a matter of, do they keep it, the Raiders, even competitive enough that is Harvey just cleaning up, mop-up duty like that Bengals game, or is Dobbins staying involved all game? We'll find out. I think both backs are in play for touchdowns. So similar to Sutton and Franklin, I do think that Harvey and Dobbins are both good starts. I have Dobbins just a little bit higher. If you somehow are in that situation, you have both. I do still feel like Dobbins is the safer bet here, but Harvey, the upside swing here with, again, that touchdown in 3 straight weeks. We just saw last week that against a less talented Jags team, Travis Etienne had 14, Bashal Tutin had 9. I know you're not hoping for 9 when you start a fantasy guy, but that's exactly, I'd say, a floor for both of these backs. And so I think both of them, I'm plus 6 ECR on RJ Harvey and plus 2-ish ECR on Dobbins. I think both of these guys are very, very solid plays tonight. The last nugget I had tonight before it is onto the mailbag, onto all of your questions are, is there any Raiders worth starting besides Jeanty and Bowers? I will say Jeanty, I have gotten some questions about him. Last week, season high 90% of the snaps, the Raiders are no longer messing around, mixing in Zamir White or Raheem Mostert. We've had 100% of the running back carries last week go to Jeanty. He had 19.9 fantasy points, was the running back 5 on the week, his second best outing. I also love that they're no longer messing around with the stance and making him get low. Chip Kelly, you send a message to the rookie. They're letting him do his Michael Myers thing, which I absolutely love. After that really slow start to the season, 3 dud weeks in a row, he's been the running back 15, running back 12, running back 42, a dud week there. Then the running back 5 right there, running back 8 over those last 5 weeks over that span again since week 3. So yes, it's a tough matchup. There really isn't any good spots to exploit against this Denver defense. 32nd in points allowed to wide receivers, 24th in points allowed to tight ends, 25th in points to running backs, and 30th in points to quarterbacks. So I'm not really sprinting to get many Raiders into my lineups, but Jeanty to me is still in that must-start territory, as of course is Brock Bowers coming off that 37-point eruption. I lost to the last place team in my league last week. Thought I had it in the bag. I was like a 96% favorite entering those 4 o'clock games. And even like with Bowers at 2 touchdowns, I was still about a 70% favorite, and he just continued to pound and destroy me. We know that there will be no Pat Surtain tonight. And in the past, he has followed Bowers around. So that is a noteworthy little nugget there. Ultimately, this is still a great defense. I think Bowers is absolutely a smash spot. His, my number 1 tight end of the week. You can't really go away from him. If you wanted to say McBride's the number 1, I wouldn't argue with you. The Seahawks have been generous to tight ends, so fine, whatever. I have Bowers as my top tight end. You're playing him. I have Jeanty in my top 15 running backs. You're playing him. The question becomes, though, is anybody even worth considering behind these 2 studs? To me, maybe Tre Tucker, but honestly, I don't think so. Again, dead last in terms of points allowed to wide receivers. And we look at Tucker, it's been a solid season, largely buoyed by that week 3 40.9 performance. But having that in your repertoire is no joke. Even with that, though, he's still just the wide receiver 32 in PPR fantasy points per game. He's had a couple other okay weeks, 13.4 in week 1 against New England, 12 against the Titans, 11.1 against Indy, a few other duds mixed in there. The only reason you actually consider him, though, is the fact that Jacoby Myers has been removed from this offense, traded over to the Jags. So Tucker should be the lead receiver, again, wide receiver. We know that Bowers will be the number 1 weapon over the rest of the season. But Tre Tucker does have some juice moving forward. I just don't think the squeeze is quite there against the Broncos. Now, next week against the Dallas Cowboys, absolutely. And Tucker is still somehow out there in over half of leagues. So go check your league. He should absolutely be on rosters. But to me, I'd be benching him tonight. I don't think that's a necessarily bold take. I just can't see him getting there necessarily against the Raiders. Maybe in garbage time, he's getting the dink and dunks, but this is still, even without Pat Surtain, one of the best pass defenses in the leagues. Nico Collins, sure, had 7 for 75 last week, but this is Nico Collins, not Tre Tucker here. So ultimately, I don't think Michael Meyer, no. I think Jack Besh may be a good speculative ad, but not someone you're getting into lineups tonight. The only Raiders you want in your lineups are the studs, Jeanty and Bowers. I'm not playing anybody else. I will sprinkle again, plus 1,000 on Jack Besh, touchdown bet. Why not? Plus 1,500 on Geno, touchdown bet. Why not? I might sprinkle a little bit of that in to get some garbage time collection going in this game. But ultimately, the only guys I'm actually going to start in my fantasy lineups are Jeanty and Bowers while I await that Dallas eruption next week for Tre Tucker. Alrighty, folks, we covered Courtland Sutton and Troy Franklin. We covered RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, and we covered the Raiders for you. Bo Nix, I didn't feel like putting on here. He's my quarterback 6. Ultimately, it is very few cases. I did have like a Drake May versus Bo Nix. I'm going to go Drake May in that. But I do think this could be one of those classic 25, 30-point eruption spots for Bo Nix. Alrighty, folks, that is all I have here. We now have a couple super chats. I'm sorry, RJ and Davey Dave. We do not have the moderator here tonight that typically alerts me if there's a super chat, especially you, RJ, having to wait 11 minutes. Normally, you get to just cut that line with a super chat, and my apologies here that it took me a little long to get to those. Wanted to rip through the news, and I'm just seeing right now these super Davey Dave. Thank you again so much. If any of you want to cut the line, this is the way to do it. A free way to help your boy is that thumbs up button. We'll get to that, though, because we don't want to keep RJ waiting any longer. He's asking Nix, or Daniel Jones. And I would go Bo Nix tonight. A very, very solid start for QBs. Top 10 in points per game are the Raiders. And like I said, I just think the Broncos completely smash this team. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bo Nix rushing touchdown plus 2 to 3 passing touchdowns. One of those just crazy eruption spots for Bo Nix. The only real worry would be that they're smashing them so bad, the Broncos, that they don't need to keep their foot on the gas pedal. But like I've said, we've seen Sean Payton demolishing teams and just continue to pile on the points. And I think that is exactly what we're going to see at home, just a Broncos feasting tonight. So give me Bo Nix over Daniel Jones. Don't mind Daniel Jones, but that is a tough pass for the Falcons. They're right towards the bottom 5 in terms of points per game allowed to quarterbacks. Daniel Jones gets there when he gets the rushing touchdowns, and maybe he sneaks one in this week, as he has been. I think in over exactly half the games he has a rushing touchdown. He's tempting in that sense, but if he doesn't get the rushing touchdown, it's just pretty ho-hum for Daniel Jones on the season. So I like Bo Nix in that one, RJ. Thank you again for that super chat, and sorry that you had to wait. And Davey Dave coming in with a $5 super chat. Davey Dave, thank you so much. Franklin or Jennings? I imagine that means Jawan Jennings. What do you think? I am leaning Jawan Jennings. I'll admit I'm a biased owner. I have Jawan Jennings, and I have to decide whether I start him or Tez Johnson this week. I've been going back and forth, kind of driving me crazy on that front. Meanwhile, I'm also facing Troy Franklin. So I have to get those biases out of the way right from the jump, that I am significantly hoping that Jennings outscores Troy Franklin tonight. If you're following the volume, it certainly would be Franklin. As we said from the jump, 10, 8, and 10 targets across his last 3 games, 10, 21, and 4 in standard. But you're playing, you didn't specify, so I'll do half PPR scoring, 11, 24, and 6 for Franklin across the last 4 games. He has been, or 3 games rather, the wide receiver 9 in that span. But again, I'm largely on the back of that 24-point eruption. He does have, though, multiple 20-point days on the season. Tonight certainly could be one of those, with the Raiders allowing the 4th most points to wide receivers. This is a very, very tricky call. Jennings matchup, not quite as juicy, but that game also has – I always think that the Rams and the 49ers are going to shoot out. You got these 2 explosive offenses. It always ends up just being a ton of running back carries. The clock moves faster than you expect, and it just doesn't end up being all that juicy. That being said, though, the Rams are right in the middle of the pack, 17 in points per game allowed. I don't think it means anything, but last year, Jennings did have that 40-point eruption against the Rams as well. I feel better about Jennings after last week. The report pregame was that Jennings has been feeling better, looking better, and then he goes for 41 and a touchdown. I think I'm also just wish casting here, though, and honestly, I would probably go Franklin, and I'm going to adjust my rankings on the fly here, Davey Dave. The volume's been better for Franklin. The quarterback, you'd like to think Bo Nix is better than Mac Jones at this point. If Brock Purdy was cleared and it's like, all right, Brock Purdy's starting, Jennings is his boy, him and Kittle. I cannot wait for them to get Purdy back, whereas it's Kendrick Bourne starring for them. So I am going to bump Jennings below Troy Franklin here at this point. They are neck and neck, though. They already were 29 and 31, and I just swapped it, and now Troy Franklin is 30, Jennings is 31 on that one. So I'm going to go Troy Franklin. I'm adjusting the rankings right now, Davey Dave. I think my rankings did have a little bias in mind. Again, I'm facing Franklin, likely starting Jennings myself. So I hope it goes the other way. I hope Jennings is better, except for you here, Davey Dave. There. So if you want to ride with me, I am starting Jennings, and it is very close, literally neck and neck, 30 and 31. I would be going, if I had the option to go Franklin, I think I would be going him, though, over Jennings myself. All righty, guys, that wraps up the super chats. We got about 740 of you here, and we're only 18 minutes in. Please consider helping your boy out. It helps the stream grow so much, for the likes, the shares, the retweets, the heart button on Twitter, the thumbs up on YouTube, all of that stuff so greatly helps us out. Thank you again so much for being here, guys. And as always, my rankings are live at rotostreetjournal.com. Free for you guys, will be updated throughout the show, posted again on rotostreetjournal.com. But every view also helps us out so much. Let's now move on, though, to the rest of the mailbag, starting with my man, Giuseppe Russo. Oh, sorry, Giuseppe, we did get a super chat, so we're going to let RJ Bacconi, hey, my man, double super chats tonight. Thank you so much. We will not skip you again here. Got Gadsden, Warren, and JK, and you need to sit one. Oof. Very tough situation here, RJ. Oh, man. You know me, if you've been tuning in for a while, that I am one of the biggest truthers of Oronde Gadsden. I have a very hard time sitting him. I have Dobbins exactly one spot ahead of Jaylen Warren. So I think either way, RJ, we get J.K. Dobbins in tonight, and then we kind of play it by ear, figure that out afterwards from there. I know Warren, he just keeps getting there. I don't love it, though. You see last week, the 2 touchdowns, they save him 1.9 yards per carry, 16 carries, 31 yards. Disgusting. And the receiving work just hasn't been there. Two catches for -2 yards. I mean, he doesn't score. If he scores only 1 touchdown last week, you're getting, 10 points, which is fine. But I'd rather lean into Dobbins here. I think he's a great bet for a touchdown. Got held out of the end zone last week. Sean Payton's want to get his guy in there. It's very close, but I would definitely start Dobbins tonight. And then we kind of figure it out from there. Are you the favorite? What do you need? Because Warren is safer. You're going to get double-digit carries. I just have not been impressed at all. The Chargers have been, a decent matchup for running backs. But lately, I believe, let me just pull this up. So they're very good against wide receivers. But let me pull up against running backs. Yes, this is the point I was going to make is just 2 weeks ago, they were a top 10 matchup for running backs. But lately, they've been very, Jonathan Taylor absolutely murdered them. Devon Achane murdered them. Krosky Merritt murdered them. I believe with Bosa, somebody recently returned. And since then, it's been ugly. Aaron Jones, 4. Xavier Scott, 3. Negative points for Jordan Mason in that game. And then Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, 7 and 7. Fine, but nothing great. So I guess that, they weren't facing the stiffest competition there either. I just don't think Jaylen Warren's significantly better than Tajay Spears or Tony Pollard. He might get a better workload. But and other than those games getting smashed, Pacheco did nothing. Jeanty had 5.9. Dobbins had 14.8 against his old team. Yeah, that was a pretty nice day. Scatterbo had 12 points, kind of weak day for him. So it's not like the smash spot it was when we had Taylor ripping 32 and Devon Achane. And Warren's just not that type of back either. So I'm going to go Dobbins over Warren. Then we kind of figure it out from there. But I'm kind of at the point where I cannot bench Oronde Gadsden. Let me see how the Steelers have been against tight ends, though. I just want to, if they're, number 3 matchup for tight ends. So there you go. They're 29 points to Tucker Kraft 2 weeks ago, 12 the week before to Noah Fant, 11 to Harold Fannin, 25 to Hunter Henry. I mean, I'm a huge fan of that matchup, and Gadsden has just been absolutely lights out, 25, 16, and 9.3. I mean, 9.3 being the floor is pretty nice. I'm going to go Gadsden. I'm going to feel pretty solid about it. I'm benching Warren of those options for you, RJ Bacconi. Thank you again so much, RJ, for the double super chats. Thank you, Davey Dave, as well for the super chat. Let's dive into the other mailbag here. Giuseppe Crusoe kicking us off 1:30, getting his question intenting outside, waiting for us to go open here. Black Friday style, Giuseppe Crusoe. Love it. Let's go, Wolfpack LFG. Pick 1 wide receiver, 1 flex of Addison, DK, Vidal, Gadsden, or Shaheed. As mentioned, I'm definitely going Gadsden. Yeah, I'd go Gadsden over Vidal and these receivers. That's how much I love the guy. In terms of the wide receiver, I do think Shaheed eventually becomes this answer for you. It's his first few days, and I know he has familiarity with Clint Kubiak, not just familiarity. He crushed it with Clint Kubiak with the Saints, so I don't think he's going to have a long warm-up period here. But I'd like to give him a little time to get acclimated to Sam Darnold, to his new team. Darnold playing MVP ball here. Between Addison and DK, and I guess Vidal's not in this question because you need a wide receiver. That is tougher. I am always, Giuseppe, as you probably know this, I love Addison. I've always been an Addison guy, and I'd like to see him get it done with, of course, J.J. McCarthy. But McCarthy looked very encouraging last week. So I'm going to roll with Addison. DK's just been so up or down, coming off that complete and utter dud last week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 catches for a grand total of 6 yards. The week before, 5 catches for 55, did find the end zone. But then he had, 5 catches for 50. It's been very much just boom or bust. And I like Addison, who's, I guess, a little bit boom or bust, but he's been averaging more points per game than Justin Jefferson since returning. So I like Addison and I like Gadsden for those two, Giuseppe Russo. Jordan Love or Daniel Jones, I'm definitely going Danny Dimes on that one. Jordan Love, we just saw this offense get completely swallowed up. I think they're going to severely miss Tucker Kraft here. And Philadelphia, no pushover of a defense. So I'm going Daniel Jones. Give yourself a little London fun or whatever state. What country are they playing in? I have no idea. I just know it's an early game on Sunday morning. Back to that crap. Flex half PPR for Giuseppe Russo. Vidal, A.J. Brown, or Monty when you're already starting Gibbs. I think I'm going to have to go to A.J. Brown on this one, fresh off the bye. I know he's been whining. He doesn't get traded. But Vidal did not look good at all last week, and Patterson mixing in because Vidal didn't look so hot. Steelers, if they can stymie Jonathan Taylor last week, that makes me a little nervous for Vidal's outlook. And I don't love starting Gibbs and Monty. It's one of the backfields you can pull it off, sure. A.J. Brown, though, I mean, it's A.J. Brown, and I know it's been a roller coaster, an up or down ride. But if the Packers can have some semblance of life, you imagine they'll push them, and A.J. Brown will need to be leaned upon. So I go A.J. Brown for that one. Giuseppe needs to pick two from Brissett, Rodgers, McCarthy, or Fields. I like McCarthy after what we saw last week. I think he is my favorite. And then Brissett has not been under 20 fantasy points since taking over the starting role. So I would rank them, J.J. McCarthy, then Brissett. I have Rodgers, those guys at 16 and 17, Rodgers at 21, Fields at 19. The upside, with Fields is tantalizing, but not against Cleveland, who stops the run. I think that team is just going to get snuffed out. Give me Brissett, give me McCarthy for your two quarterbacks. And then I got pick two, flex PPR, Tez Johnson, Parker Washington, Singletary, no, Christian Kirk, Loveland, or Myers. We are in some rough spots here. I would say Tez Johnson's my favorite of this group. And then it comes down to Loveland versus Parker Washington. If Komet's ruled out with that concussion, I mean, it's tough to sit Loveland after, a 30-point eruption last week. Finally flashed that ability that we've been waiting to see, why he was picked over Ty Warren. Yeah, we saw it last week. I like Loveland there. I'm going to go Tez Johnson and Loveland, unless Komet's in and then they're nibbling each other's cheese. My third option would be Parker Washington. I do think that slot role is a solid one there. So I'd rank them Tez, then Loveland, then Parker Washington myself. Quick water break before we get to my man, Magic Mike. I love to see you. Fellas, if this drags on, feel free to finish me off quicker than the Dodgers did the Blue Jays. That was definitely dragged out. What a World Series, though, Magic Mike. If you're a Blue Jays fan, I'm sorry. Sounds like you might be. But, man, that was one of the best, if not the best World Series we've seen in so long. PPR trade. I've been offered Metcalf and Swift for Brees. My wide receiver 2 is Wandale. Already got Manungai. I wish I liked Metcalf more. He's been one of my quote-unquote busts from the start of the year. And I don't know if it's necessarily he's been a bust, because it has been some wide receiver 7, but then it's wide receiver 40, then it's wide receiver 11, then it's wide receiver 50. It's just, if your wide receiver 2 is Wandale, I kind of like Wandale. Honestly, I think Wandale and Metcalf are very similar. That being said, though, I actually really do like Swift. I feel like Swift and Brees, I know Brees just had 30 points last time out, but you say since Cincy. Now this team is trading everybody, clearly tanking. Brees is malcontent there. Magic Mike, it must be infuriating to have Brees Hall and know that all the Chiefs needed to do is up it to a third rounder. I'm just a fantasy nerd. If I was Brett Veach, if I was running the Chiefs, how do you not give up a third round pick? I think Brees Hall's the man. Maybe in NFL circles, he clearly is not valued that high. I love the guy. I think in the Chiefs, he would be deadly. That might be that piece that truly puts them over the edge. They might not need that piece, as we know. We've seen them do it without running backs for however many years now. But it wouldn't hurt to have one, and he would be a fantasy animal. I don't mean to just rub this in your face, Magic Mike. That's you could have had a true top 6 running back. It would have taken just a third-round pick. Also, kind of petty by the Jets, when you're in wholesale mode, to be oh, no, we'll do it for a third, but not a fourth. Kind of respect him holding the line at the same time, though, because Brees Hall is definitely worth, I think, a second in my mind. So the fact that the Chiefs wouldn't give them a third, which is probably going to be a late third, blows my mind. All that to say, though, in fantasy, I think Swift and Brees are very, very similar. Gun to my head, I probably pull this trigger. I just wish I liked Metcalf more. Like it just doesn't, I don't love it. I don't love it, but I do like it. Like I think Metcalf and Swift is more valuable than Brees, but I don't love it. Like I said, Ross, what's going on? Hawkinson or Loveland? I'm going Loveland, and probably even if Cole Kmet's in, Hawkinson, what are we doing? I guess he did. What did he have that touchdown with JJ McCarthy last week? And maybe that's a sign of like a guy that respects his tight end a little bit more. But I would have a hard time benching Loveland. The Giants have been sneaky good against tight ends. As somebody who owns Kittle, I was like, yeah, it's a fluke. There's no way they're that good. And they shut down Kittle last week. He did have a touchdown. He had 11 yards to go with it. So if Hawkinson doesn't catch that touchdown, you're not even asking this question. I'm going to go with the ascending young player here with Loveland, coming off a 118 two-touchdown day. In half PPR, we're talking, 26 fantasy points on the day? Yeah, 27. I'm going with Loveland on that one. Ross also asking Christian Watson or Tez in the flex. I'm rolling with Tez. Owner bias admitted here. I have Tez, but no Chris Godwin. It's looking like he hasn't practiced yet this week. Obviously, Mike Evans is out for the foreseeable future. And Tez Johnson, I heard an interesting stat about him. One about his screen profile over at Oregon was a dominant player off of screens. I forget exactly what it was, but Scott Barrett had it on his phenomenal School of Scott podcast I was listening to. And he was raving about that. And then we had one screen so far dialed up for Tez Johnson. And I don't know how that's the case. I like the Josh Grisher, the offensive coordinator. He's doing a phenomenal job with the passing game. That one screen that was called for Tez Johnson, he ripped for like 30 yards and looked awesome after the catch. So my hope is that they see this. They end up lighting up the screen button a little bit more for Tez. He's been very, very solid. I know last week was disappointing against New Orleans. I expected more, 6.8, wide receiver 45, but 11 and 13.8, 8 the week before. It's all been okay. It's all been solid. Christian Watson, you've been banking on a big catch, a big play these last couple of weeks. And maybe you get it yet again. I just hate Packers receivers. It's just playing whack-a-mole. Who's it going to be? What's popping up? So I'm going to ultimately go Tez Johnson over Christian Watson, admitting my owner bias for sure. Ross H. Singletary or Henderson? Come on. What world would I ever recommend Singletary over Henderson? I know he had 7.1 last week, but Ramondre's still not practicing. And even if Ramondre was in, it's not like Henderson lit the world on fire. I wish he had. I don't know what's necessarily going on there. Was thrilled when the Patriots drafted him. We're not even seeing close to the guy that warranted that number 3 running back pick early in the second round. But he was okay with all the volume and still has that elite pass catching profile there. 6 targets, 4 catches, 32 yards. I like that. 14 carries, 55 yards. Don't love the 3.9 yards or pop, but not horrendous. If you got into the end zone, you're talking 16 points. You're talking a top 10 running back day. I think it's certainly in the realm of possibility against Tampa Bay. Last time they played, we saw Jahmyr Gibbs. Henderson's no Gibbs. I get it. Gibbs just also only had 4 points the week before that. He had 39 points against this defense. So I think Henderson, after a running back 20 week, that's just a much safer floor with so much more ceiling than Devin Singletary. So give me Henderson in that one. And then Tien Nguyen, great to see you. Monangai or DJ Moore, half PPR. This, of course, depends on DeAndre Swift. If Swift's out, you're probably not even asking this question. We saw Monangai rip off 175 yards. Sure, against the Bengals, who I might have a bum knee, but I might be able to go run for 100 against the Bengals. Ultimately, yeah, I take one carry and my ribs are broken and I'm crying, getting carted off at a body cast. Nonetheless, I still really like DJ Moore on +3 ECR on him. The Giants are a top 3 matchup for wide receivers this year. I do think Swift already said I'm expected to be back. He practiced in limited fashion so far this week. And DJ Moore coming off his best game of the season by a mile. So you hope the coach continues to expand that role. I like that for sure. I'm going to go with DJ Moore 90% of the time, unless, of course, Swift is ruled out, and then you're not asking it. It's going to go Monangai anyways. Well, Beck, we're hitting that 30-minute mark. We're at 1,100 live views already. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you spending this early Thursday pregame with me here at 5 o'clock. Please consider hitting that thumbs up button, that heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets. It all greatly helps us get out to more people. I know Thursday we don't set those 4,000 live views quite like Sunday mornings, but hey, we've had a couple Thursdays with 2,000 or so. It seems like we're on pace for that today, so please consider hitting that thumbs up button. Looks like we did get a super chat coming in here from Mr. Sidekick. Thank you so much for that. Sidekick Kid 87. Herbert versus Steelers or Knicks versus the Raiders? Ooh, very good question. 2 top 6 quarterbacks for me. Sidekick, you got yourselves a quarterback weekly dilemma. I do like Justin Herbert just a little bit more. I have him at quarterback 4 and Bo Nix at quarterback 6 myself. The Steelers have been the second best matchup for quarterbacks. And it's pretty pathetic how bad the Cowboys are. But ultimately, the Steelers aren't that far behind. I guess the Steelers did ultimately fall to number 5 matchup after a decent week last week. So not quite the slam dunk, but averaging 21.37 points to the quarterback position. Justin Fields had 30 points against this defense. Jordan Love, 28. Flacco, 25. Daniel Jones only had 17. It did seem like that defense seemed to figure something out, but I don't fully buy that. This defense has been giving up big play after big play all year. So these are the quarterbacks to face the Steelers this season. 29 for Justin Fields, 17 for Sam Darnold. Drake May had 20. Carson Wentz had 23. Dylan Gabriel had 8. Okay, Dylan Gabriel. And then we had 25 for Flacco, 28 for Love, and 17 for Daniel Jones. Only one real dud against this defense, and that was Dylan Gabriel. I'll take a 17-point floor for Herbert, who's coming off a monster fantasy day of 28 points. You look at his last 3 games, 29, 26, and 28 fantasy points. I can't bench that, especially in a top 5 matchup for quarterbacks. As much as I do like Bo Nix tonight, I think it could be an eruption. I said at the beginning, I think this is a classic Broncos just pouring on points tonight, not taking their foot off the gas pedal. You get those 3 passing touchdowns for Nix. He runs one in, and okay, maybe he's the quarterback 1 for the week. I still think Herbert has just as much upside, if not more, and he's had a better track record on the season, better matchup this week. Give me Justin Herbert. Thank you so much, Sidekick Kid, for the super chat as well. Free way to help your boy again is that thumbs up button. Thank you again so much for being here. Krana Shaw ripping off a bunch of questions here. Let's dive on into what we got. What a game. That was a classic one. Cannot believe the Bengals blew it in the last second. Must be so painful. You hear in Chase Brown saying just one effing stop, and same with Jamar Chase. You got to be so frustrated. Joe Flacco going out there with a AC joint sprain in his throwing shoulder, and still Huckin, I believe it was the most yards anybody of his age has ever thrown. I heard a stat. I forget exactly what it was. Something crazy. That was a wonderful, wonderful, fun fantasy feast, though, Krana. Loveland is an absolute beast. It's good to see him unloaded. Knicks or Darnold? I'm going to go with Knicks in that one. Love the matchup, like I've said. Darnold's the man playing MVP level ball in terms of just raw play, but fantasy-wise, it hasn't necessarily been a huge week in and week out performance. 4 touchdowns in the first half last week. There's some big juice there, no doubt about it. But ultimately, they do take their foot off the gas pedal, whereas I think Knicks, Sean Payton, they rather just keep the pedal down. Debo or Diggs, I literally have neck and neck, Krana. I'm going to lean into that Debo matchup against Detroit, though, where they're chasing some points. Mariota can give him the rock. We've seen him have some big games with Mariota already this season. Quick water for me, Krana. Pick 2, PPR. Sutton, T-Mac, Egbuka, or start all 3 and bench Henderson. I'd probably start all 3 receivers and bench Henderson. Certainly you're playing Egbuka, the clear number 1 here. Sutton would be the next man up. Comes down to T-Mac versus Henderson. I'd probably actually bench T-Mac there. I'm always a little lower than the ECR on T-Mac, and really that's very rarely bit me so far on the season for Ted McMillan. It's one of those things where his play is phenomenal. He looks great. He makes these acrobatic sideline catches. I think he's the real deal. And New Orleans, certainly not a scary spot by any means. But then you just look at the final counting stats. It's never all that good. His season high is 16.4. The only game he scored 2 touchdowns in that game. Otherwise, he's touchdownless on the season. Wide receiver 30, 27, 45, 36, 28, 12, 57, 14, and 49 on the year. Has one 100-yard game on his resume. It's just one of those things where I think we all see this crazy talent making these amazing plays each week, and we want to rank him in the top 20 because he probably is in that top 20 conversation on raw talent. But raw talent isn't always fantasy production. And for me, it is close between T-Mac and Henderson. I'd probably lean into the running back, assuming Ramondre is out there. And then Gatson or Judkins flex. Oh, man, I just said I wouldn't bench Gatson for most questions here. But I love Judkins this week, fully healthy, practicing like nothing's wrong. And I think Cleveland, this is one of those rare spots where Cleveland's up, Cleveland's favored. Last time we saw that was against Miami. And Judkins, Miami's up a much softer run D than the Jets, but it's not like the Jets are a hard run D, and they just gave up Quentin Williams. So ultimately, Judkins, 26.4 against Miami in a standard league. I think we could see another 20-plus day against this Jets defense. So I really like Judkins there. Drop Schultz for Jawan or Loveland. I like Loveland, even if Kmet plays. Yeah, I'm going with the young upstart. I don't think Ben Johnson's smart enough to not put that genie back in the bottle. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Whatever the expression you want to use, I'm going Loveland there. And then Adunze or Waddle, PPR, especially of what I don't know what you gotta let me know, Cron, in the comments what Adunze's dad's been saying. I don't know if it's like an OBJ classic where the dad's bitching and moaning. It comes down to how banged up is Adunze. I know he didn't practice on Wednesday. I love that Giants matchup, top 3 matchup for wide receivers. I had to take a peek at the rank because I don't like to do that, Chrono, while I'm answering. I have Adunze 9 and Waddle 10. So I'm going to go with Adunze. It's your Bears. I like that move. It is trickier. Waddle's definitely safer because the Bears have more mouths to feed, more weapons. Ben Johnson likes to spread it around. It just feels like a classic eruption rebound spot for Adunze, though. Waddle, you're going to get 8 to 9 targets. Safer play. I lean into Adunze myself. Droid, what's going on? Pick 2 wide receivers and 1 kicker for my man Droid. Wide receivers are Tet, Wandale, Troy, Tez, or Malik. Kickers, Lutz or Pinheiro. I like Pinheiro. I always go Eddie Pinheiro. Lutz is in a good spot tonight, though. Don't get me wrong. That thin Denver air, bad Raiders defense. I'm going to go Pinheiro, though. I just always go Eddie P. And then Eddie Money. Wide receiver, Tet, Wandale, Troy, Tez, or Malik. I think I'm going to lean into Wandale. The number 1 for an ascending Jackson Dart looks phenomenal. It's definitely not Tez or Malik. It comes down to Wandale or Tet for me, and not Troy either. And all those guys are good options. They are. But I like Wandale for this one. I don't know who Malik Washington. Come on, not him. So give me Wandale, give me Pinheiro for that one. I don't know. I'm actually kind of thinking Lutz over Pinheiro. I want to make that adjustment in my rankings. It's just the atmosphere is good, but part of what worries me about Lutz is it might just be a touchdown fest. It might be 5 touchdowns, and he has 5 points. Yay! I'm going to stick with Eddie Pinheiro. He's been money, Eddie Money, baby. Cody Welsh, should I start Harvey over Rashad White? Swift is the other running back and flex spot I want for Olave or Debo. Fully agree with all that. I think I definitely go Harvey over White. This is the classic. Do I go with my volume bet? Rashad White, unlikely to see Bucky Irving, probably going to be the featured back, but also facing a New England run D that has not given up a single 50-yard rusher on the year. Not 100-yard. They've not surrendered 50 yards, and that includes Bijan Robinson last week. White's no Bijan, and so if the Pats can shut down Bijan, I think they can shut down Rashad White. So I like RJ Harvey. I've already mentioned plus 240 to score a touchdown. Love it. Like the 2 touchdown odds, like the first touchdown odds. Harvey's a great play. He scored in 3 straight games. Big fan of RJ Harvey myself. And you got the path of receiving 44% route share, season high last week, starting to get that Joker role really developed. You got that avenue. You also have potentially garbage time bleeding up the clock like we saw against Cincy. So either way, I'm in on Harvey tonight. I'm plus 6 ECR. I'm really on that one. My man, Randy Mellick, thank you so much for your generous super chat, $5. You're the man here, sir. Lost Jane Daniels, and now you have Daniel Jones, but is Caleb worth a pickup? I mean, we're talking about a quarterback that just had over 30 fantasy points. So, yeah, I mean, I think I got to say the guy is worth a pickup. Now, granted, I have Daniel Jones higher this week. I like Daniel Jones more. I've never been a big Caleb Williams guy. 36 points don't lie, though. Yes, against Cincinnati, the quarterback won. It has been very, very boom or bust for Caleb Williams. I will say that. 29 points, 12.8, 19.9, 5.7, 12.8, 36 points. So it's very, very hit or miss here with Caleb Williams. New York Giants should be a hit spot. I guess it really depends on your bench space. I would like to have Daniel Jones and Caleb Williams and kind of rotate and play matchups. But if it's a shallow league, you only have a spot for one quarterback, I'd prefer to have Daniel Jones. If you can have both, take both. Picked up Loveland for losing Kraft. I think that is solid. Swift, worried about bear overload. Well, Randy, in certain weeks, like against when they face Cincinnati, a bear overload is awesome. You stack the offenses. What like the DFS experts all say is find that right offense. Caleb Williams was in the Millie lineup last week alongside Monungai, alongside Loveland. You could have won $1 million for that lineup. So it's certainly not I can't have too many of one offense. This is the right type of offense. When they light it up, they really light it up. But you're not also getting to face Cincinnati, so there are going to be plenty of weeks where you don't want any of this offense. So I hear what you're saying. I think Caleb's a worthy pickup, but if you only have space for one quarterback, it's probably Daniel Jones. I mean, Caleb almost makes more sense for your team, though, where it's correlated, right? You're building that correlation. It is just one of those things where, unlike DFS, where it is like all or nothing, you might not want that all or nothing every single week on your fantasy team. So worth a pickup? Yes, depending on your bench space. Let me know what you have to drop to get him. If it's only one of him versus Daniel Jones, I'm going to stick with Daniel Jones on that one. Thank you again, Randy, so much for your super chat. I'll be on the lookout if you have any follow-up for who you would have to who you'd have to drop for that. Alrighty, we were on Droid. We were on Cody Welsh, where I said I would go with Harvey over Rashad White. And now Ross, I forgot to say I have Njoku. So Hawkinson, Loveland, Njoku. Still Loveland for me. Even if Komet's back, I think Loveland, like I said, too smart of a mind is Ben Johnson to put Loveland back on the back burner for Cole Kmet at this point. I'd hope, at least. My man, Matthew Noto, great to see you, sir. Full PPR, Alec Pierce or RJ Harvey tonight. Love both matchups. My opponent has Daniel. I think this one, Noto, is Harvey for me. The only world I get the idea of like Pierce and Daniel Jones and maybe a neutralize some of the points. If you were a very heavy favorite, let's say like 70-30, 60-40 even, maybe you pull that move. But otherwise, I just love Harvey tonight. I think the matchup's great. I love the streak of 3 touchdowns in a row. The route share, the season high, the garbage time potential tonight. I'm just leaning into Harvey. He's my play this week. Jones starting, but I also have Drake London in that same game. Hey, tough timing with Sauce Gardner arriving. It was a top 3 matchup for wide receivers. I expect Sauce to really help that defense out. But Drake London should still be very, very solid this week. Also starting Tet McMillan. So if you maybe like Pierce over him, I'd probably go Tet. But that's another one where it's like if you find yourself as the big favorite entering Sunday, let's say you go Harvey tonight, he has 25 for you. You're up to 65%. Maybe you do go Alec Pierce and balance that out. But I do have Tet a little bit higher. I probably played Tet there. Crypto Night. You said you had not seen my name, but I've been tuning in. Hey, great. Glad to hear you've been a 2-year fan. I think Crypto Night, what's happening is it used to show names, and now it keeps showing like the @ in your handle. So remind me maybe what your actual name is, because that's probably what used to show. Right now, it's like showing me the @ You can probably even see it on the screen, @Crypto Night, H8G. I didn't recognize your handle because I don't have the handles memorized. Whereas like someone like Matthew Noto, I know you've been tuning in for many years. It's your actual name. I don't know if you had an actual other display name. I didn't recognize that name last time, Crypto Night, and I didn't mean that to be offensive because normally I do recognize the people that have been showing up for multiple years. Greatly appreciate the support. My apologies. I'm sorry that I did not recognize your name, but it has been weird showing me, like you can see right here, Crypto Night, H8G. I don't believe it's been showing up as like Crypto Night when you've been asking your questions the last 2 years. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe the weed's really taking its toll. My memory, the concussions from high school football are starting to really catch up to me, perhaps. But ultimately, thank you so much for your 2 years of support. And sorry again that I didn't recognize that handle. But like I said, it's been showing me a different name lately. Like Tunes, I know it used to show as Kyle Tunenberg. I know who Kyle is because it says Tunes 90. But ultimately, I can't recognize Crypto Night. My apologies for that. I don't mean to be offensive. And thank you again so much for your 2 years of support here. Needed wide receiver and a flex full PPR. Sutton, Franklin, Vidal, or Marks. Got to water down before I answer this one. So I'm thinking Sutton I like more than Franklin. Then it comes a matter of, do you want both Broncos wide receivers in your lineup? Is that too much Broncos? On a night when they're facing the team that gives the fourth most points up to wide receivers, I honestly think it's viable. I think I personally would pivot, though, to Sutton and Vidal. Spread my bets out a little bit. Don't go completely all in, because what if you have a Bo Nix injury or something just crazy? The Raiders somehow catch fire, and they do shut down this passing attack. I think I'd rather spread my bets out. So I'm going to go with Sutton and Vidal on this one. Tunes asking, Henderson, Turns, I don't know who Turns is. Fannin, full PPR, pick one. Certainly Henderson over Fannin for me. I don't know who Turns is, but I'm going to go with Henderson. Lucio Renelli, half PPR, pick one wide receiver, one flex. QJ, Tet, Monungai, Vidal, or Henderson. For wide receiver, I like Quentin Johnson over Tet. Steelers have been giving up a ton of big plays. Top 5 matchup for wide receivers as well. And Tet, as we've talked about, just again, looks phenomenal out there. And I think we overrate him in fantasy. Hasn't really been a great fantasy offense for him compared to, again, Rico Dowdle. This is an offense that flows through the backfield. Always has under Dave Canales. In terms of the flex, I would lean, it's clearly Monungai if Swift ends up not playing, but I'm guessing he is going to play. And then do you have QJ and Vidal? Loading a little bit too much against a Steelers team that was a matchup you want to load up against. But after last week against the Colts, the number one offense in the league, they shut them down. Maybe the Steelers have found a little something. I'm going to go QJ and Henderson for this one, Lucio. Henderson versus Tet's been a question we've got a couple times, and it is tough. But in half PPR, I like leaning into the touchdown upside of Quentin Johnson and Henderson there. Tunes, Harvey, Vidal, Rashad White, or Jennings. I like Harvey. Big Harvey guy this week. That's kind of my bolder, higher ranking that not a lot of people are on. For me, that was Vidal a couple weeks ago, and that panned out. I'm feeling the Harvey vibes this week, Tunes. DJ Johnson, what's going on? A couple back-to-back Beverly folks here. Love to see it. We got over 1,400 of you here before the first hour. Maybe we will hit 2K tonight. You love to see it. Thank you guys so much. Please consider hitting. If you're with those 1,400 and you enjoy what you're hearing, that thumbs up on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, helping us get out to more people is so greatly appreciated. Thank you again for spending your Thursday night pregame here with me. And if you want to cut the line, your super chats do go such a long way to supporting your boy and helping us out with what we do. And of course, all these rankings will be live at rotostreetjournal.com. Back to the mailbag. Let's go, DJ Johnson. Are you worried enough about the Broncos D versus Bowers to start Gadsden over him? No. I love Gadsden. Think he's been awesome. I think you asked this one last week, DJ Johnson, and I said, as much as I love Gadsden, we're going to Bowers. He's back. Let's play him. Hopefully you listen, because at 37 points, was it incredible? Smashed me in my main league as a 90% favorite, 92% favorite, I think it was, entering the late night, and then boom, he ended up just burying me. So brutal. But I'm going Bowers over Gadsden despite the tough matchup. The Citizen 6860 got offered either Javonte. One thing I meant to say too at the top, I'll look at this one, this trade for you. I love hearing where you guys are commenting in for. So as you ask your questions, I should be saying this at the top of the show, not an hour in every time, but as you guys are asking your questions, or even if you've already asked your question, let me know where you guys are coming from. It always intrigues me. We got Tomas from Panama. We got Link Clegg from Australia. We got all these people coming from all over, even if it's just Beverly, old Massachusetts, like some of you guys that I know. Would love to hear where you guys are commenting in from. The Citizen 6860. Let's hear what we got. Got offered either Javonte, Gibbs, or Jacobs for Puka or CD. PPR, my other running backs are Dobbins and White. My other receivers are DK and Johnston. Whew. This is tricky because I would say Puka or CD. Oh, man. I would say Gibbs is the only one I'd be willing to give up Puka or CD for. And I think I'd give up CD before Puka. So if you're doing a one-for-one swap, I would get Gibbs for CD. It sounds like you're trading away your receiver. And I'd probably do that with your depth because Johnson, DK, fine number 2s and 3s. You still have Puka, the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy moving forward. I'd give up CeeDee Lamb for Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, I would do that for you. DB asking, Dobbins tonight or Parker Washington? Definitely Dobbins for me. I think he's a great bet to hit 80-ish yards, maybe a touchdown as well. So I would roll with Dobbins there, DB. We got another super chat. Randy, my man, the second super chat for you. Thank you so much for that. I greatly appreciate it. And non-PPR, would you rather roster Tre Tucker, Alec Pierce, or Tez? And you asked this in the regular chat, so I will ignore it. I will ignore it, Randy. Thank you again so much for the double super chats. Very kind, very generous of you. Good, sir. I would say, so this one comes down to a couple things for me. If it's just 1 week, I got to start one of these guys. You actually have to play this guy this week. I think it is Alec Pierce for me as my highest ranked receiver. Very close to Tez Johnson. I have them 34 and 35 in my rankings this week. But if it is who do I want the rest of the season, the guys on the bench, I think it would be Tre Tucker. We've seen 40-point upside. Jacoby Myers removed. Don't like him at all this week because he's got that hardest matchup for wide receivers. But moving forward, if I had to pick one of these guys to have the most upside down the road, I think it's Tre Tucker. And I think that starts as early as next week when you got the number one matchup for wide receivers for against the Dallas Cowboys for Tre Tucker. So all these guys also do fit that non-PPR build where it's the big plays, the long touchdowns. I like that type of stabs. So I really do like all three of these guys. But if it's I only need them for the rest of the season, they're on my bench, not necessarily starting this week. Tre Tucker is my highest upside rest of the season. But I also have Alec Pierce higher this week in terms of rankings. I also have Tez Johnson higher as well. So I would be going with, again, Tre Tucker if it's just a bench piece. I'd be going with Alec Pierce if I had to start one this week. Thank you again, Randy, so much for your generous super chat. Half PPR, sit one of Judkins, Dobbins, and Jeanty. Oof, that is a very tough question. I like all these guys. This is one Lucio. As much as I like Dobbins, a top 15 running back for me, I would be going Jeanty and Judkins ahead of him because both those guys are in my top 13 running backs this week. The matchup for Jeanty does worry me a little bit. He has been boom or bust, a little bit matchup dependent, but ultimately I can't bench Judkins. Love him against the Jets that just traded away Quentin Williams and already were not a great run D. And I think Cleveland does beat them. And when they're favorites, very rare that you get that perfect game flow for Judkins. I think that's what we get this week. In fact, I'm bumping Judkins ahead of even Kyron Williams this week. So I'd rank them Judkins, then Jeanty, and then Dobbins. I think Dobbins is actually a little safer than Jeanty. If one of these guys was going to completely bust on you, I think it would be Jeanty just getting 5 points and swallowed up by this defense. But the fact that they're playing, again, 90% of the snaps last week, season high in terms of target share last week, is coming off his second best output of the season. And in general, the running back 8 since week 4 on, after those early kind of duds. I think Jeanty's really trending the right way. So I'm going to go Judkins and Jeanty, and I'm going to bench Dobbins there. Thank you again so much, guys. 7 super chats. That's awesome. You guys are so kind, so generous. Free way to help your boy with about 1,500 of you here right from the jump here. Not even a full hour in. Maybe we do hit 2,000 tonight. You'll love to see it. Thumbs up button would be so greatly appreciated, guys. Thank you so much. Whether you're on YouTube, the thumbs up, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, it all so greatly helps us continue to grow and get out there. So we had Dobbins over Parker, and now we're at Aaron Levy. Hey, half PPR, flex help. Have Jeanty and Judkins as my running backs. Would you play Dobbins in the flex, or is Stephon Diggs or possibly Monungai with no Swift a better play? I would go Jeanty and Judkins. It's tricky. If you knew Monungai had no Swift, he would be better than Dobbins. He'd be he'd be better than all these running backs, maybe not Judkins, but I'd have him even above Jeanty. We just saw what happens to Monungai with no Swift. Yes, against the Bengals, one of the best possible matchups. The Giants are also a great matchup. But it sounds like Swift is definitely trending towards, and he's got back-to-back limited practices. He said he's going to play. So for me, I'd rather just get my Dobbins shares in tonight. It is spooky having both your running backs, Jeanty and Dobbins, play, and then if they bust tonight, it doesn't feel good. But if they both score, you're feeling pretty solid rolling into your weekend. And I think both these guys are very solid bets to find the end zone tonight. So yeah, I like playing Dobbins tonight. unless I missed something on Swift. I last I saw was he's practiced in back-to-back days. He said he's going to play. If anything, if he backtracked and did not practice today, and I read the wrong report, and now it's looking like Monangai might actually start, then you don't play Dobbins and you wait it out. Because even if, let's say you don't play Dobbins, right, and you ultimately have to pivot to Diggs over Monangai, that's still not bad. I'd rather just get Dobbins in tonight, though, unless Swift was trending the wrong way, and I missed that, but I don't think I did. So, yeah, you're playing Judkins, you're playing Jeanty, you're playing Dobbins. That's how I'd play that Aaron Levy. Does Bo Nix put up 2 touchdowns? I sure think so, DJ Johnson. I don't know what his odds are for it, but I like that. Absolutely. This is a very easy defense to pass on. And like I said at the top of the show, I think this is just Sean Payton hitting the gas pedal and never letting off. And I think we get 35, 40 points from the Broncos tonight, and they just absolutely smash. So, yes, I think he puts up 2+ touchdowns. Connor McGinnis just traded Jeanty and Algier for Kyron. You have Corum, and they have Bijan. I like it. I don't love it. I think Kyron and Jeanty are comparable. Honestly, I probably had the young rookie that's starting to trend the right way over Kyron, who been a little bit more boom or bust than typical this season. So I wouldn't consider you the clear winner. I don't think you're a clear loser in this trade either. But if it was me, I'd probably prefer the Jeanty Algier side myself. Always going to be honest. Never going to just like blow smoke up you guys. TC, thank you so much. I think you consistently repost it. Greatly appreciate that, sir. Laszlo Sloke, 8849. Hey there, PPR, Monangai or Montgomery? This one's pretty easy for me in the sense of if Swift's out, it's definitely Monangai. If Swift's in, I'd probably go to Montgomery in that case. Tien Nguyen asking Tez or DJ Moore. As much as I love Tez, I'd rather go DJ Moore this week. Coming off that season high, top 3 matchup for receivers. Keep it riding. Franklin or JMO for my man Crypto Knight. I believe that I have these guys neck and neck in the rankings. I have to take a peek here, Crypto Knight. My gut's going to tell you I like JMO, though, against Washington. Yeah, it's a bit riskier. JMO's a bit more boom or bust. You kind of know you're about to get 7 to 10 targets for Franklin, which I like. He does have a little bit of boom upside, so I think the floor is higher with Franklin. The ceiling's similar. I just love that Washington matchup for JMO. I like that they said we got to get this guy cooking a little bit more, and now he's starting to. Oh, so RJ Baconi, so it's meant Tyler Warren. Okay. Sorry, I did not know that. RJ, I'm just seeing that now for this original super chat. You got Gadsden, Warren, and JK. I would definitely sit JK at this point and play both tight ends. I love Tyler Warren. I love Gadsden. I mean, Warren has been a little bit sketchy these last couple of weeks, but he's just such a beast with the ball in his hands, and they're good against receivers, but a little softer against tight ends. I think. Let me just double check how the Falcons are stacking up against tight ends so far this year. It might be one of those matchups that's just like you avoid it. Oh yeah, they're the hardest team against tight ends. Wow. I'm gonna adjust my rankings. Yeah, they haven't had a tight end score above 7 points. That was Hunter Henry last week. 8.4 for Dawson Knox. He had 1 catch for a touchdown. They have been very stifling. They also haven't faced anybody. Luke Farrell, Dawson Knox, Zach Ertz is the best tight end talent they face. So that might be a little bit of but that is a very good pass D. So I'm going to go Dobbins and Gadsden on this one for you, RJ. Abruso Bonito. Full PPR. Drop Pearsall for Franklin. Also Bam for Singletary. I'd drop, Singletary doesn't move the needle much for me, but Bam doesn't either. I'd probably, if you have to play Franklin, sure. Otherwise, I still, maybe it's the truther in me, but I always like Franklin. I always like Pearsall and the 49ers. And once Purdy's back, this offense starts to cook. I'd probably rather have Pearsall. Although, is he ever going to play? Yeah, I'd probably do the Franklin move. And then, I'd probably do the Singletary move, but I don't love it. It doesn't do much for me. If you're not playing Singletary, I'd rather have an upside handcuff, a backup running back that could really explode if things bend the right way. Even like Emmanuel Wilson, for the Packers or, Isaiah Davis, something like that. I'd probably rather have than Singletary, unless you have to use him, in which case he's mildly usable this week. Galaxy Pickers. Trade Odunze and Addison for Pittman and Chase Brown. I would go, yeah, I like that. I like that deal. Yeah, Chase Brown with like a 14 target day. So yeah, I think in Pittman, I think is one of the most underrated players in the league right now. So yeah, I think in Odunze a little too boom or bust. I think, yeah, I like that deal for you. And Addison, I love Addison, but yeah, I'm going to make that deal 10 out of 10 times. All right, guys, be a quick water break. Need a flex Trevion Hendo, Oronde Gaston, Kyle Monangai. Again, if Swift is out, it's Monangai. If not, I like Oronde Gadsden in that one. Jeanty or Henderson, non-PPR. I got to go with Jeanty on that one, despite that tough Broncos matchup. Give me Jeanty there. Blunt Brush, hey, thank you so much. Hit the like button. Don't be a turd. Indeed, don't be a turd, guys. Hit that like button, though. Support your guy, the heart button on Twitter. Thumbs up on YouTube. The likes, the shares, the retweets really is so greatly appreciated. And we did have a couple super chats coming on in. I believe we already hit this one. Lucius, Judkins, Dobbins, or Jeanty. I believe I said bench Dobbins. So, yes, we got that one for you. John, this one came in a few minutes ago. My bad. I am just seeing it right now. We don't have the moderator we normally have tonight that gives me a heads up when super chats come in. So my apologies on missing this one. We got to start two of Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, or Woody Marks. So to me, it might sound crazy, but RJ Harvey is the easy play tonight. I would absolutely have him above both Marks and Kenneth Walker. And from there, part of me thinks like Walker has like a breakout game for some reason this week. I don't know why. It's just a little gut call. It does come down. Chubb wasn't practicing early in the week. I'm not sure what his status. If Chubb's ruled out, it's very easy. You go Woody Marks over Kenneth Walker. Otherwise, I think I'm going. I like Woody Marks more than Walker. I'm going to adjust my rankings to show that. It's just so annoying that Charbonnet is going to get every single touchdown. Like, at least the Lions give some work at the goal line and you get some scores there. It's just, you're getting nothing from Kenneth Walker at the goal line for some reason. So, yeah, as of right now, John, I'm playing Harvey tonight. No brainer for me. Touchdown in 3 straight. 44% route share, the highest of the season. Good, also garbage time potential for him as well. So I like Harvey the most out of all 3 of these guys. Marks versus Walker will come down to is Chubb in or out. I had Walker higher. I feel like I'd rather, though, have Marks in my lineup. The big play. Jacksonville, a mediocre defense. I mean, Marks did just absolutely blow, though, last week. 2.7 points, 3 targets, no catches. Oh. But okay the weeks before, 11, 13, running back 18 back-to-back weeks. I look at, Kenneth Walker, and it's just getting vultured. Yeah, Walker's been so brutal, too, because I love that zone running scheme, but it's just been the Sam Darnold show. I mean, 9, 4, 6, and 7 in half PPR the last few weeks for Walker. I'm gonna go Marks, with or without Chubb. Give me Marks. I think that could become a good game script for him. Davis Mills, kind of like a little check down artist there. John, I'm gonna go with Harvey, and I'm gonna go Woody Marks there. I'm gonna adjust the rankings to make sure they reflect it. Thank you again so much for the super chats, guys. 8 on Thursday. I think 8 might be our new record. On Sundays, we sometimes get 30, 40. We had a 40 super chat day, so never would expect that on a Thursday. But you guys, with 1,600 to be here, love to see it again. One last call for that, not last call, but thumbs up button is so greatly helpful. And, of course, rotostreetjournal.com is where you can find all of these rankings, folks. All righty, we are now on Cody Welsh. Pick one for Flex PPR, Olave or Debo. I'm going to go into Olave there, I believe, or Ladd. I actually like Ladd there. Steelers matchup is just pure juice. And they're very bad against slot receivers where he can do a ton of damage. I know Keenan Allen resides there, but I'm going to Ladd McConkey in that Steelers matchup. Trade Javonte for Kyron and Harvey. Kind of need to win now. 4 and 5, 12 team. Patrick, this is a long question with a lot of moving parts. I typically would prefer, though, to have Yeah, I mean, I like the upside of Harvey, and your running backs are pretty awful after Javonte. So, yeah, I would do this deal, and I would get Kyron and Javonte in the lineup. Troy Franklin, what about him? He's out-targeted Sutton in 3 straight games. He's been the wide receiver 9 for the last 3 weeks, but that is on the back of a massive blow-up against Dallas. But fourth most points allowed to wide receivers, could absolutely have a blow-up tonight, Harry Bow. Am I crazy to start Harvey over Bill? I think Blunt Brush, you'd be crazy to not start Harvey over Bill. I'm absolutely going Harvey over him. Touchdown in 3 straight, highest route share of the season, solid enough matchup, garbage time potential. Bill, nothing right now, especially with Mariota now. Caleb Williams from the Bears or Sam Darnold from the Seahawks? Thanks for clarifying the teams for me, Ed Day. I'd go with Caleb Williams, though, a lot more fantasy juice. Darnold, real life-wise, way better, playing MVP-style ball, but doesn't always amount to massive fantasy points, whereas Williams against the Giants, I like that game to have a lot of juice myself. Speaking of juice, Zadie juice. Lost Kraft, now Fannin. Who's the better tight end stream? Mason Taylor or Likely? I think it'd be Mason Taylor. Don't love either. I'd rather have Luke Musgrave over either of these guys. Is Fannin not in, though? I thought Fannin is he questionable or is he actually out? Dealing with hamstring non-participant. Okay. So that's interesting off a bye that he's dealing with a hamstring. That does not sound great. That's news to me. I did not have that from my earlier news scan. So I would say I like Musgrave. I'm bumping him up my rankings as we speak. He'd be my preferred play, but I also like Dalton Schultz on a lot of waiver wires. Theo Johnson on a lot of waiver wires. I'd like over all of these guys. But if it has to be Taylor or Likely, I would go with Mason Taylor's 80 juice. As the Vidal owner, trade Walker and Charbonnet for Hampton. Yeah, I'd probably rather have the Chargers backfield than the Seahawks backfield. Because when do you ever feel good? Like, Charbonnet's going to get the touchdowns. If he doesn't, you're screwed. Walker's never really that usable at this point. So, yeah, I'd probably just rather have Hampton. Harvey worth the start? Absolutely, Alcrott. Plus 6 ECR for a lot of reasons I've already outlined a million times. So, I'm sure you've heard him at this point. K. Rude. Should I trade Zay, Judkins, and Judy for Adams and Jeanty? Judy's useless, so Zay and Judkins for Adams and Jeanty? Yeah, sign me up for that. I would absolutely pull that trigger. Alcrott, is better to play Christian Watson or who was the other one? Not sure, Alcrott. We get a lot of questions, as you can see, so it's tough to remember who the other one, over RJ Harvey. I'd rather play RJ Harvey 10 out of 10 times there, Alcrott. Franklin or Wandale. I'm going to go with Wandale on that one, Joe M. I love Jackson Dart. Love his number 1 weapon, even if it's not all that exciting in Wandale. You're going to get 10 targets. He's going to get you 70-ish yards. I like that floor. And there's a ceiling for a little bit more, too, when you got a guy like Jackson Dart slinging the rock. John Gustafson, starting 2 of Harvey. Oh, you super chat this one, John, and we said Marks and Harvey for that. My man Bulldog. Hey, Wolf, should I start Rachaad White or Trevion? I'm going Trevion there. Again, the Pats have not allowed a single 50-yard rusher on the season. The toughest matchup for running backs. I like it. I like Henderson a lot on that one. Juwan Johnson over Pitts? Nah, I'd probably stick with Pitts on that one. Just better overall offense. Sure, the volume could be there for Juwan. The matchup's not bad against Carolina, a top 6 matchup. But I like Pitts there. I know without Shaheed, maybe some more volume opens up for Juwan, but I've trusted him before, and it usually burns me. Ed Tay, Daniel Jones, Colts, Caleb Williams, Bears, or Sam Darnold? I like Daniel Jones the most of those ones. Franklin or Shakir for Ross H. I'm going to go with Franklin on that one. Again, the wide receiver 9 the last 3 weeks, out targeting Sutton for the last 3 weeks. I'm going with Franklin there. Randy Malik. Oh, this is the one that you repeated after you had already super chatted it, so you told me to ignore it. I shall. Milk God 25, full PPR. Pick 2, White, Brees, Jeanty, Vidal. I'm going Brees and Jeanty pretty easily there, Milk God. Just significantly better talents than either White or Vidal. Love it. Similar volume outlooks. Give me the 2 talents there with Brees and Jeanty. Patrick 544. PPR, need a running back and flex. Oh, we did get a super chat, it looks like, so I want to make sure to get to that one. My man Sal, what's going on? Wolf, Manungai, or Tip McMillan at flex. To me, this would be, if Swift's in, I'm going Tet. If Swift's out, it's a no-brainer. It's Manungai for me. I just think Swift was so good before he got hurt that I don't know that that one massive game from Monangai. Incredible performance. It came against Cincinnati. I don't think Swift lost his job by any means because he was looking phenomenal too. Value, I'd go with Chet begrudgingly here though, because like I've said on the stream so far, Sol, I've gotten a bunch of tech questions, and I think as a community, I'm -7 ECR on him. I think everybody just kind of overrates a talent that looks very, very good, but fantasy-wise, it just hasn't amounted to much. His top finish on the year was 16 points, and that was on 2 touchdowns. He hasn't scored a single other time. I mean, if the coach – this one comes down to some commentary too. Like the coach is like, yeah, Swift's playing, but we got to ride Monangai. He really earned more work. I like his odds to score against the Giants in that big back roll. I actually kind of just like Monangai better either way. You know what? I'm just going to go Monangai here, Saul. I'm not really a Tet. I love the player, but like I said, I'm not a huge Tet guy in fantasy-wise. It's just not – it never works out that well. So that was the one we were ignoring. So we were at Patrick. Need a running back and flex from Woody, RJ, Hendy, Fannin, Loveland, and Pierce. This one would come down to RJ or Henderson for me. And like I said, I'm very high on Harvey. Touchdown in 3 straight weeks. I'm bumping him above Henderson as we speak. I have Henderson 18 and RJ 19, and I'm bumping Harvey above him. I prefer Harvey this week. Love the matchup. Love the target share increasing. Love the touchdowns 3 straight games. Love the garbage time upside. I'm going there. PPR pick 2 for Alcarot. Otten, Tez Johnson, Watson, Parker, Washington. Thanks, Wolf. Thank you, good sir. Tez Johnson is my favorite, and then I believe Parker, Washington. He's got that slot role on lock. Liam Cohen, very, very productive role there. So I'm going to go with Tez and Parker for that one. I think I'm going to check my rankings to make sure Parker's above Watson. He's gotten there, Watson, on a couple of boom bust plays. Yeah, I do have Parker Washington still above him, so that's good. I am bumping, though, Darius Slayton up because I do like him a lot this week. But, yeah, give me Tez, give me Parker Washington there, Alcarot. Turns was Tootin, auto-corrected, so it meant Henderson, Tootin, or Fannin. It's still Henderson for me there, Tunes. Robert Meadows, is it too soon to start Jacoby Myers? My other options are Shakir or Pierce. I'd go with Shakir there. It's not – maybe he jumps right in, but he jumps right into a tough matchup against Houston too. So I'd rather wait that one out until a better spot. Addison or MHJ? I would go with you got Brissett, so that makes MHJ a little more appealing. And, yeah, I think that's enough to bump him over Addison for me. I would go MHJ. Only 13 likes. Come on, guys. Hit it. Yeah, please do. We need 1K likes. Thank you so much, Alcarot, for encouraging the good folks out there tuned in to hit that like button. It would be so greatly appreciated. 1,730 of you. Hit that like button, the heart button on Twitter, the thumbs up on YouTube would be so greatly appreciated. And Bulldog, awesome to see Vegas representing Vegas, baby. Are you a Raiders fan? Are you originally from Vegas? You live there now? Awesome stuff, Bulldog. You're the man. Thank you so much. Drew Hansen, pick 2. Marks, Harvey, Pierce, or Downs. I like Harvey the most here. I think I go to one of the Colts guys. Which one is the question? Probably gun to my head, I'm going Pierce. If Chubb's ruled out, though, Marks becomes a no-brainer. But either way, Drew, I'm playing Harvey tonight, kind of figuring that out on Sunday. 8 a.m., I'll be live. Happy to answer this one again as we gather more info. For right now, though, I'd probably go Harvey and Alec Pierce. And again, love hearing where you guys are from. Thank you, Bulldog, for doing that from Vegas. Do keep me posted as you guys are answering. Start Torrey Franklin. Davis Martinez depends on other options, but I'm totally down for it, given the leads the team in targets across the last 3 games. Wide receiver 9 in fantasy points the last 3 games. Yes, buoyed by a big performance against the Cowboys, as everyone does, but a top 4 matchup for him tonight, so maybe he has another one. I hope not. I'm facing him, but that's probably more reason to even play him. Drop Watson for McMillan, the Bucks, or Slayton. I'd probably keep Watson just if it's a bench stash, probably the highest upside of them. Weather wind. Is it super windy in Denver? I didn't see that. Typically pretty mild there with that weather. Alrighty, folks. Downs or Tre Tucker? All right, so we don't have a ton more questions. I was going to go rapid fire, but we don't have a ton more questions, so we can rip through these and be done by 6. Downs or Tre Tucker? I'm going Josh Downs there. Zach Cheyette. He's really starting to come into his own. And this is the offense I would prefer. I hate that Denver spot. Next week, though, Tre Tucker against the Cowboys, you'll be playing him. Stop repeating yourself. Drew, Vidal or Dobbins? I would be going with Dobbins there. Giuseppe Russo for sure. Troy Franklin or Josh Downs for Scuba Steve? I'm going with Troy Franklin on that one. Love the matchup tonight. Love the target share that we've all been talking about so far. Fish ST, start Jeanty? Absolutely start Jeanty. Yes, it's a tough matchup, but 90% of the snaps, highest target share of the season other than one other game. Second highest points of the week, nearly 20 last week, was the running back 5. He's the running back 8 since week 4 on, where he's really started to be focused. They're not messing around. They're using him a ton. I'm going to go Bo over Goff for sure. Keys to the city. Love the matchup tonight. Top 6 quarterback for me. I think this is a true Broncos smashing tonight. I would pick up I think I actually would rather have Slayton over Watson. Yeah. Happy Thursday, Wolfie. Thank you so much, Stephen Weber. Great to see you. Harvey or Monungai with Swift back? I like Harvey on that one for sure. Loveland, Musgrave, or Fannin? I would be doing Loveland here, even if Kmet's back. And it doesn't sound great, but I like it, Saul. I like Loveland a lot. 27-point day last week. I think that Ben Johnson, I trust him to be smart enough to get that done. Where's the answering questions? Shane on Twitter and on YouTube, wherever you want to ask, brother. Thanks, Wolf. Absolutely, Saul. RJ Harvey or Monungai with Swift back? I like Harvey there. It seems like Swift is definitely going to be back, and I'm going to go with Harvey. Not sure how that distribution will be. I think Monungai clearly looked amazing, but Swift has also looked amazing these last couple of weeks too when healthy. So I'm going to go with Harvey. I think he just balls out tonight. Start Knicks tonight or start Darnold on Sunday? I like Knicks tonight, KJ Frederick. Full PPR only, that really matters for quarterback. Either of them catching passes, but I'm going to go start Knicks. Darnold looks so good real life-wise, but they do take their foot off the gas pedal when they get up. I think they could get up against Arizona pretty early. And I think Knicks could too, but the difference is that they love to just keep piling on points with Sean Payton. Loveland, Fannin, Musgrave. I'm definitely going Loveland there, Saul. Harvey or Vidal? It's Harvey for me. I keep reiterating Michael, but a touchdown in 3 straight games. Looks phenomenal. Highest route share of the season last week. Great matchup. Could have the garbage time upside too. I like Harvey. And then Zach Ertz or Loveland. The last question we got for Ed Tay. I'm going Loveland. Way more upside. Plus you got the quarterback concerns there with Mariota, who does have a fine rapport with Ertz. He caught a touchdown a few times last year. It just seems to be collapsing there, whereas Loveland trending every which way, the right way. And then Dobbins or Harvey. I'm going Dobbins, just a little safer, a little more guaranteed volume. It's tricky with Harvey because it's only like 2 carries last week, but still 5 catches, 51 yards, touchdown. Still think you're ups. Harvey does have, at this point, the higher ceiling, but Dobbins, the floor feels very, very secure. I think he's a great bet for the end zone. I think both these guys score. I do think Harvey has a little more juice to him, but I'm going Dobbins there. More guaranteed work in a good game flow type of script. Ryan Gaffner, am I crazy to play Franklin over Jeanty? I have Sutton too. Yeah, I think you're a little crazy. No, it's a tough matchup for Jeanty, but he has been lights out since week 4, the running back 8. Coming off a 90% snap share. The team's not messing around anymore. They know what they have. They know what they invested in. They are going with him. All righty, Wolfpack. We didn't quite hit 2K, but we do have 1,800 of you here. And I'd love on your way out if you consider hitting that thumbs up on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter. And then please check out rotostreetjournal.com where all of these live updated rankings will be for you in just a few seconds. Going to push them through, update it, and then make sure that is out to all you good folks out there. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday pregame with me. Best of luck. I hope you get all the points you need tonight. Let's go. J.K. Dobbins, that's who I need. I'm facing Jeanty and Franklin. Sorry for all the people out there that have those, but I hope they blow. Knowing that they're facing me, you're probably in good shape, though. But best of luck for everything other than Jeanty and Franklin, who I'm facing, even though I think they're both going to have good nights tonight. You guys are the best. Have a wonderful Thursday. We'll see you live Sunday at 8 a.m. in a world full of fancy sheep. Be the Wolf, guys. Later.